Hey everybody, how you doing today? Welcome back. It's Wednesday. We're back. Welcome back to us. Ed, welcome back.
Welcome back.
How was Muskokie, Yoki?
I'll tell you, I think it was spectacular.
It was pretty spectacular.
It was a great day.
Yeah.
The weather didn't look very good. There I am driving there. Look at this.
That was horrible driving back.
Oh, that was driving there.
Wasn't that
Isn't that beautiful weather? Look at.
I know.
Isn't that nice?
This is midsummer in Ontario area.
I just got my license yesterday.
And your first time driving my car. There's me nervously watching you drive my car.
And I kept it under 145.
I know. I was quite impressed with that. And you kept it between the ditches, which is always an impressive feature of a good driver.
Yeah, we did okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We got home. Well, here we are on time, on the show. So yesterday, in case you didn't notice, we were up in Muskokie at Scott Patterson's place. Scott's the chairman of Pat Camp. He's the chairman of Halo Resources, our sponsor. There he is waxing forth on our conversation, and we will have lots more coming to you from Pat Camp because we shot several interviews with Scott there about several companies of which he's chairman. So, without a further hesitation, let's a big shout out to Halo Resources, the guys in our, this little watermark right here. Yes, look at that. Boy, I always laugh when people.
Yeah.
There it is. I have to get used to doing that. Halo Labs is our sponsor. They trade on the NEO exchange under the symbol HALO. They are 20% of the wholesale vape market in California. They are extractors, they are growers, they are consumer packaged goods producers in Nevada, Oregon, and California, and soon to be Lesotho and probably Europe. This company is on the move. It has a lot going on for it. They're obviously smart guys, and they decided to sponsor their show as a way to get their message out there, and that's what we're here to tell you today. Visit them at halocana.com. Edward, now, yesterday, I saw you on water skis.
No, you didn't see me on water skis.
I did see you on water skis. Well, the water skis were behind you, though, and you were swallowing half of Lake Joseph. I was
sitting on the dock with water skis on. That's the only time you saw me on water skis, because the rest of the time, I was drinking water out of the lake.
Boy, but that was a good time, though, eh?
Oh.
You know, the new backyard segments that we're going to do a backyard segment every week, and we're going to combine them with some extracurricular activities. In this case, it was water skiing.
Maybe some bonus footage coming out here soon?
Bonus footage is coming. We're cutting together a little segment of our collective efforts at water skiing. And it wasn't just me. It was Ed, and it was Donald in the control room. And then, of course, we have some image of our host, Scott Patterson, executing some rather impressive rooster tails. Lobster tails. What the hell? Where did that come from?
You were confusing skiing with what we had for dinner.
Well, is that what it was? No, we didn't have lobster tails, but we had Argentinian pink shrimp.
I know. Where
do you get those? Well, Argentina, I guess.
Yeah.
They were pretty yummy, though.
They were spectacular.
Quite the spread.
I only had about 7 of them.
Wow. And then that peach pie with the ice cream.
I only had 3 helpings of that.
Oh, gosh, I know. It's like I
peach
put on
pie
15
with
pounds.
Strawberry ice cream.
And the wine.
Homemade strawberry ice cream.
And the wine. And we actually consumed a great deal of cannabis from the Ontario Cannabis Store, which I was really impressed with.
It was an extraordinary night.
Extraordinary.
Extraordinary.
Big shout out to Coco and Mark, who are the chef and assistant chef / well, she was just an all-round good person who just helped us. Nice lady
who helped us out.
Great time. So big shout out to them at Pat Camp, and a big shout out to our host, Scott Patterson. We thank you. It was just fabulous. So, without further ado, let's talk about today's show, because it really is a big show. And the show today is going to feature a few items. So, Ed and I are actually going to read the news because for some reason nobody wanted to be news nurse today.
Right.
Then Chris Heath, who's the CEO of Ventura Cannabis, is going to join us from our studio in Los Angeles. That's a YouTube studio in can't remember the name of the city, Culver City, which is actually a suburb of Los Angeles. That was from a while ago, but it's still very fresh and relevant. Dmitry Zaytsev, the Russian bear, who's been absent from our show for quite some time, is threatening to make appearance around 3:15, 3:20.
Okay.
And then moving right along at, call it 3:40, we're going to hear from nobody. Is that it? That was it.
Okay.
That was it. Actually, yeah. Anyways, that was it. So, in cannabis news, Ed, shall we read the cannabis news together?
Sure. Where would the news be?
I don't know. The news was here, and the news is, I don't know where it is. They were setting it up, and now everything's gone for the news.
Really?
So maybe the news is just, like, not good.
You know, when we left this morning, I checked the price of gold. It was $14.06. I just checked it again. You know what it was?
What?
$14.26.
Good, we're up.
There's a $20 jump there from this morning to about an hour ago.
A little volatile lately.
Well, you know, I'm just wondering if something came out that, you know, usually those types of moves are sort of caused by some comments. And we had the market sell off again, it looks like.
Yes. Well, so in cannabis news today, Acres Agricultural Canada has received a 300-acre cannabis license from the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Now, obviously, that means the
what does it
company is called Acres Agricultural Canada, but it's going to be growing in St. Vincent and the Grenadines on 300 acres. That is a lot of hemp cannabis. Ignite International introduced the United Kingdom to the Ignite CBD at its London launch event in Europe. Ignite trades under the symbol BILZ on the CSE. Boy, these companies who put out a press release without the symbol in the headline is really remarkable. Let's see. One Cannabis announced that it has built a franchise presence in the Midwest, in Missouri. The company announced that it was, boy, this thing's really fast. The heels of another Midwest state legalizing cannabis, the industry's preeminent franchisor is making moves and building its presence in the region with expansion into Missouri and several deals in the works in Illinois as well as other states. So, what other news? Let's see. Fake news. These are all news releases that are not actually released by companies, so we skip over them because they're not news releases. And here they are in the news release stream on Quote Media, which they shouldn't be, in our opinion.
Do you know that California gold mining got halted?
California gold mining.
Which is involved now in hemp growing?
Yeah, did they?
Remember our friend that we know there that runs that company, the CEO?
Yeah.
Vishal?
Yeah.
Anyway, it looks like they've acquired a pretty big piece of land for growing hemp in Illinois.
Really?
Yeah. Stock is certainly acting better now that they've sort of moved into the hemp space.
Yeah. No kidding.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's see. A new report finds that cannabis. Are cannabis cannibals people who eat cannabis farmers, or do they eat people who are high on
I think cannabis cannibals are plants that eat other plants.
Oh, they cannibalize other plants.
Yeah, because they're cannabis plants.
That are cannibals.
And they're cannibals.
Interesting. Palm Beach, Florida. Oh, this is another false news thing. Oh, well, let's keep going here. Harvest One has signed a supply agreement with Gen Canna for extracted products. Harvest One Cannabis, trading under the symbol HVT, today announced that the company, through its wholly owned subsidiary Satifarm, has entered into a supply agreement with Gen Canna Global. Under the terms of the agreement, Gen Canna will supply Harvest One with GMP certified CBD oil and finished products for distribution in regulated markets in the United States, Europe, and around the globe. Well, that's interesting.
Wow.
Yeah. Do you know Gen Canna? I've heard of them.
No.
Sol Global announced a $6.5 million investment in CanCure. CanCure is a private company? Have you heard of CanCure?
Well, you know, there's so many companies that have Can, that have Cure, that have Bis.
Well, Heritage Holdings has a subsidiary called CanCure that I was participant in. They are now part of Heritage Global, and the girls over at Grit Capital made a silent movie out of their visit there, which was interesting and cool.
Silent movie?
Silent movie, yeah. There was no voice in it. You're awfully high these days, Ed. Why are you so high?
Well, cannabis is legal now.
So you're high all the time.
Well, not really.
Today. So Sol Global is doing a $6.5 million infusion into its portfolio company, CanCure. And CanCure is active in Florida, Michigan, and California. It owns 3 Boys Farms in Florida.
Really?
Yes. We'll be following that story with gleefully and with interest.
Gleeful interest.
Gleefully and with interest. Let's see.
I'm going to start calling it Carl.
Carl?
Like Carl Sagan.
Carl Sagan?
Yeah.
The guy?
Billions and billions.
Carl Sagan,
Gleefully.
the astrophysicist?
Yeah, it was.
Let's see. Cureleaf announced that it was going to make an acquisition. It's acquiring Grassroots. That is quite a big deal for $875 million.
That stock popped 20% today.
20%. Cureleaf popped 20%. You notice the stock was moving the last couple of days, though?
I looked at it. I didn't think it was.
Tell you what, Ed. Let's pull up a chart.
Let's put up a chart on your
computer
computer because I can't pull it on my computer because I can't get into it.
You can't log into your computer?
No, I don't know.
Because your facial rec. Look at it. The stock's trading at $10 right now. Are we seeing this on the NDI?
And no.
Whoops, what's going on? I'm on GFN. Yep. Okay, let's kill the NDI and restart it because we want to continue this conversation about Cureleaf because it's, kind of relevant. And let's see, where's that NDI button? There it is. Okay. Now I'm up on NDI. Now I'm going to choose. There we go. Look at that. So let's zoom in on the last 5 days here. And, okay, so that's today. So there was no front running of this trade.
No, there really wasn't. That's my point. So this news and this thing flew. It was up to, what, 10.20 or something like that? Or a little higher.
What a jump. They really know how to keep it under their hats.
Well, we should follow this one and see if these moves are held or they're just,
Yeah.
Is it going to go all the way back to $9, which wouldn't be very good.
Yeah.
You want to see moves now that like this, that the stock keeps it.
Yeah.
Keeps it.
Look at under the related news articles. Ooh, these are not news articles. These are punts from. So these are not news articles. These are pay-for-play publishers that have somehow forced themselves into the news release feed. That includes Pot Stock News, Investing News Network, Financial News Media. These are all not press releases, so those are paid for companies, paid for insertions.
Yeah. Well, everybody's trying to make a buck.
What? Cannabis Daily at the top.
Can they see your NDI?
No, they're not making sense anymore. Cannabis indexes. Let's take a look at those now that we've talked about enough. That's enough news for today, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to make this bigger. No, looks like I'm not. It's going to stay small. But anyway, so as you can see, there we go. It's a green day all around. The large cap index is up at this time, 3:15 in the afternoon, 3.69%. So the cannabis index has rather solidly reversed here in the last few sessions after last week's dramatic sell-off. Let's zoom in on that little tidbit there. Edward, what do you got to say about that?
You know what? This move looks like a move that's going to continue on for a while.
So this is a melt-up.
Well, I wouldn't say melt-up, but certainly we've had 3 good days now.
Yeah.
And interestingly enough, if you've got a marijuana stock that isn't participating, then something's maybe amiss.
Something's awry?
Awry.
Awry.
As opposed to an oat.
An oat. Or a wheat.
Or a wheat.
Or a wheat berry.
But something's definitely awry.
Something's awry. Okay, so let's see. Look at this is broad-based movement to the upside. 2.11% on the Midas Letter Small Cap Index.
Yeah.
1.24% in the Venture Index, and 4.61% in the CSE Index, obviously led by that Cureleaf deal. Now, see, this is what happens. So This is what happens in the cannabis space when we go into the summer doldrums, is it drifts sideways until we get what we term a sector-wide catalyst to the upside. Curaleaf's acquisition of Grassland is clearly a sector-wide catalyst because it demonstrates a nearly $1 billion acquisition, demonstrating that there's no way this market's run its course, and there's no way that the summer doldrums are any indication of a break in the longer trend. Rather, they're characteristic of a bull market that is now in its sixth year. This is the sixth year of the cannabis bull market, and most of which has been enjoyed by Canadians, but now we're starting to see a lot of American companies. Curaleaf's a great example. But you notice, see, this is the one difference that when you see a U.S.-based company announce a big deal like that, and there's no trading the day before. There's nobody who gets this, the little phone call and say, "Hey, nod. Little birdie told me that this big deal's going to happen, and you should probably be buying Curaleaf."
I got a twitch in my eye.
Yeah, but notice in Canada, if there's a big deal, it's like there's 3 days of run-up where the near and dear get the call and say, it's a little birdie calling. Chirp, chirp.
Maybe it's because we're not in Canada, we're in Canada. We're in Canada.
And our regulators are high all the time.
And they don't know what's going on.
Well,
or maybe I take that back.
Maybe, is it possible, and I'm just going to float this idea, I'm not making any accusations, but is it conceivable that maybe elements of the regulatory regime in Canada are actually part of these early trade-ups in stocks that announce big deals?
Well, I think we're going into an area we
dangerous territory.
Dangerous territory.
We don't want any microscopes shoved up our ass. No, sir.
What? Microscopes?
Just a question. Just a question. It's just a question. Just an innocent question.
What about a colonoscope?
Coloscopy. Oh, Edward, Jesus. I was just getting the last image of, what was it we were talking about the other day, and you just, grossed me right out. Oh, no, it was...
Chiron hit 240 earlier today.
It was our friend who was telling us about his vasectomy.
Oh, Jesus.
Repeatedly at dinner. Giving us details.
Who?
No, we can't mention names here. Let's keep our friends anonymous. He knows who he is. How's your vasectomy coming now? Huh? Is it getting better? Hope you got some CBDs on that. Woo! Anyways, so next week... Actually, I'm not sure if it's going to be next week, but we're going to go do one of our backyard segments with Greg Engels from Organogram, which is going to be good. Organogram, during the recent downdraft in the cannabis stocks, was rather one of the few stocks that was bucking that trend. Now,
they're making money.
They're making money. In opposition to what Ed was saying about, watch out for stocks that don't participate in the uptrend. Keep your eyes peeled for stocks that buck the downtrend, which Organogram did rather handily over the last week. And so when you see a company doing that, it's indicative that it has a perception among a certain group of investors that is not consistent with the rest of the sector. It shows you that they've got some investment support that is not really concerned with what the sector is doing. They're believing specifically in what Organogram is up to. And that's really comes as no surprise, since Greg has, with his team, turned Organogram around from a sort of East Coast outpost grower into a contender for not just medical but also recreational brands across the board, growing some of the best weed in the country. No ifs, ands, or buts about that. Actually, I think some of the largest buds we've ever seen was at Organogram. You didn't come on that trip.
No, I never did.
We're going to bring you on the next one. Okay, so Curaleaf Holdings, as I said, is leading the charge in the CSE, the Midas Letter CSE index, up a big 4.58%. There it is. And then we're going to, now that makes it the largest company in the, okay, so Belgravia is a penny stock. That's a shell. We don't care. Blueberries Medical, 31 cents, up 19. That's in, Curaleaf, there's where it starts to matter. Koyos Beverage. Now remember, these guys, they're up to 31 cents, up 5 cents on the day. These are the guys that announced the deal distributing their beverages through Walmart stores. Have you been to a Walmart lately, Ed?
No, I have not.
We're going to have to go to one and see if we can find this Koyos stuff.
Yeah.
Votis Pharmaceuticals, no, doesn't matter. Liberty Health Sciences up 5 cents. There's a company that's doing real things in Florida. Probably a little bit in the shadow of True Leaf and Cure Leaf now. Shark International, what the hell is that doing in there? That's not a cannabis company. Global Hemp Group, 6 cents. Vireo Health International Ordinary Shares. You know, Vireo, have we had them on the show? $2.95. Downward drift. Not, ooh, look at that.
There's
Trading
a
by
pop there.
Yeah, well, but look at this stock. Talk about trade by appointment. 109,000. Doesn't trade. 163,000.
Yeah, what's that? The top number, and then it's really come off. But a lot of them have come off, and now they're going back up.
621, and it's what? It caught a bit of an updraft today. That's good. Anyways, enough of that. We don't know anything about them. What do they do? Well, let's see. Here's today's press release, or yesterday's press release, rather. Vireo announced, New York's first same-day marijuana delivery service. That could be huge.
For CBDs.
Well, for, no. It's not really clear exactly what it says. Hey, can you get those guys out of here, please? We're trying to have a show here.
All right, cut.
Thank you.
Check. Check.
Anyway, so Vireo is, 292, up, 295 rather, up 22 cents on the day. Hey, there's our guy Dmitry. He's going to come in the show. We're going to cut right now to a segment with our man from Ventura Cannabis.
Okay. I'm going to try and...
Chris Heath joins me now. He's the CEO of Ventura Cannabis, trading on the CSE under the symbol VCA. And Chris, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Chris, let's start with an overview. What is the business of Ventura?
Sure. So we are a California branded products company, and we decided California because it's one of the largest markets in the world at 39 million people. It kind of sets the trend for the U.S. in general in many different ways. It has the oldest cannabis kind of culture to it, being that it's been medically legal for a number of years, and so we find California, between the market size and kind of how it's been a trendsetter, to be the place to be in to establish our brand and establish our suite of products.
Sure. So VCAN comes from a original business of having in and outpatient addiction treatment centers, and you've kind of stepped away from that to focus more on cannabis, but you're keeping some focus on the addiction treatment business?
We're really just keeping, I wouldn't say keeping focus on it. I would say that we are that's helping kind of fund the business, and that we have sold the outpatients, and we have an annuity stream for the next 3 years coming in. The inpatients, there are some synergies to market our cannabis products to those inpatient clients, because as studies have come out and shown the link between opioid use and how that can be treated with cannabis, we feel there's a strong synergy there. But we really are focused on growing our cannabis business through distribution, through acquiring distribution channels, i.e. kind of the dispensaries, and developing our products and putting them through the distribution channels that we acquire.
Okay, so targeting a MSO model, for want of a better description.
Sure.
Okay, cool. So you've got a really tight share structure, which is something I want to point out, because most cannabis companies do not have what we would refer to as tight share structures. Sure. So tell me how you evolved the company and recapitalized it.
Well, I mean, I think we are happy with kind of our structure as far as our balance sheet. We have a very healthy balance sheet right now. We're cash flow positive. We have a number of deals we're seeing in California that we can, kind of take that that strong balance sheet and pursue. And then, we've signed a purchase agreement in Los Angeles for a vertically integrated business, which has a manufacturing arm. They're already developing a brand. They have that brand in the dispensing unit they have in Los Angeles. And so we look at that as kind of our home hub, where we can take products, develop products, and then kind of use this, if you would, like hub and spoke kind of model, where the hub is the manufacturing, and the spokes are the dispensaries that we're acquiring, and we can kind of start putting the products into the dispensaries through there.
Sure. The markets you've chosen, California and Oregon, some of the most oversupplied markets right now. What's your strategy for differentiating against such a crowded landscape?
Sure. So I mean, I would say Oregon, we have one dispensary there, but that was really to kind of dip our toes into the water. California is really where we believe that that where we should be for this company. As far as kind of how we differentiate, right now the market is a bit segmented, and it's a kind of it's in its early stages, and in early stage markets, you don't see a lot of segmentation among kind of who the target audience is. So we are looking to develop segments, primarily for the elderly, 65 and plus, upperly mobile males, upperly mobile females, around 35 to 55, and because of our link with the rehab business, opiate addicts, and develop products that are specifically targeted to those segments. Because right now, a 65-year-old woman walks into a dispensary, she sees the same kind of suite of products that the 25-year-old that maybe dropped out of high school or what have you, goes in and gets. So we are looking to segment the market because it is kind of a new market, and we feel like that doesn't exist right now. So that's where we see we can differentiate ourselves.
Okay, and so tell me, what's the revenue picture look like going out 12 months, 24
Sure.
months?
So right now we are looking at probably an exit run rate of about $11 million between the purchase agreements we have, the LOIs we have, the term sheets we have. We're looking at about an $11 million exit rate for this fiscal year, and then we're looking to grow that to about $20 million the following year.
That's impressive. So do you have plans to expand into other states at this point?
I hate to be somebody that rules anything out, but right now the focus really is California. California is, there's so much to be done in California. It's, again, it's 39 million people, which is, a little bit bigger than Canada itself.
Sure.
So,
and one could argue the highest ratio of marijuana consumers per
one might say that
per state
one might
basis.
say that as well. So,
right.
We're really focused on California right now.
Very cool. Okay, so California's struggling under a marketplace that's at least in part still black market, but they have started to enforcement.
Yeah, it's been very encouraging to see kind of the enforcement coming down the line.
You bet. So do you see the marketplace conditions in California improving for newer entrants like Ventura?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%.
Okay.
Yep.
So then what kind of strategy do you have in terms of branding that's going to attract your target segments?
Right. So, I mean, we have a very talented and branding team that's experienced in this market. We've engaged people that have deep knowledge of not just the cannabis market, but the California cannabis market, right? Because it differentiates between states and between countries, and it can be very specific, right? And so we've engaged people that know the industry very well, know how to speak to those people very well, and have kind of started to develop ideas and suites of products that that speak to those segments, specifically through what we feel is dosage control and discrete products. These four segments, again, the 65 plus, the 35 to 55 upperly mobile male, 35-55 upperly mobile female, and the opiate addicts. They all, in our kind of estimation from the research we've done, from the people we've talked to, they're looking for something that is discrete and something that has some sort of dosage control to it. Because a lot of these people, the last thing they want to do is smoke a huge bong rip and be completely out of it. They want something that they can properly dose, like when you go to a bar and you get a cocktail, right? You know how much is, you got one cocktail, you know what that is. So they want something that they can dose, and they want something that is is discreet, that maybe doesn't necessarily say that they're smoking pot, because there still is a bit of a stigma around it. So there is a discreet factor to it as well. And that's how, kind of wrapping that all up, that's how we can kind of talk to these different segments.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that because you're targeting an older segment, that's probably not by default thinking, oh, I could cure myself with some weed? Do you think there's an educational component to that in order to succeed in actually bringing in that audience?
Sure. I mean, I think there is, but I also think that there has been a lot of education. There's a lot of educational kind of components and literature and messaging out there right now, and I think that helps us. That helps us kind of as we're targeting.
Here today who hasn't been here in a while. Our Russian bear, Dmitry Zaytsev, is here. How are you, Dmitry?
I'm doing good.
Where have you been? You haven't been here in months.
Yeah, well, I've been fitting into my new role. So I got approached by a group of private investors, I guess you could say, to join their team, their investment team. And so...
So now you're officially somebody's analyst.
Yeah, that's right. I am officially somebody's analyst.
Wow.
And we do invest in cannabis, the cannabis space very actively.
Just cannabis?
No, I'd say it's a significant part, but there's definitely a lot going on. There's a lot of public equities, a lot of real estate. We look at all the various deals that come through our door, and always, interested in hearing more, of course.
Cool. So then, in your capacity as analyst, what are you seeing that you like, and what are you seeing that you don't like?
Yeah, well, in terms of the cannabis space, it's been a pretty ugly slog this summer, especially with the news of CanTrust and just the overhang I think you've had from a lot of new listings. The market's a little oversupplied, a lot of new financings, warrant overhangs, options overhanging, initial investors who got in at very cheap rounds getting out, seeing the tide sort of turning. And I think the story is sort of already very well known. So Canada's legalized, we have our troubles, we sort of have edibles on the horizon, and that's it. Sort of the story's there, the players are in place, and now we're sort of in execution mode.
So do you think that so last week, for example, end of week, we saw a 10 to 15% sell-off across the sector. That coincided with the breaking and the worsening of the news surrounding CanTrust, and that came on the heels of the arguably industry founder Bruce Linton getting turfed from the company that he founded by the $5 billion investor he brought in, which upset a lot of people for pretty obvious reasons. But how much of that do you think the coincidence of those two superbly negative catalysts caused that 10% downturn, which we're now sort of seeing bouncing back in the last 3 sessions?
Right. I would say the Bruce news wasn't as bad as everyone makes it out to be. I respect Bruce a lot, but I think this is just a corporate decision, and it's just showing that Constellation is very serious about their investment in Canopy, and they want to push it through on their terms. And Bruce is going to be on to bigger and greater things. I'm sure in the U.S. maybe we'll see his name very soon, and I'm sure he'll create some more value for many more shareholders. In terms of CanTrust, I think that's really the big catalyst that moved things. And if you noted, the first day or so, things weren't reacting that negatively to it. But when the allegations came out that they put up walls, that they actually hid the fact that they had 5 unlicensed grow rooms, I think investors said, oh, we thought CanTrust is, one of the top tier industry LPs. They're a mid-tier, very well respected. If they did it, who else could have done it? And what other insiders right now are thinking, hey, let me follow this guy's cue here, and maybe I'll whistle blow on all these other shenanigans.
Yeah, sure. It sort of begs the question as to what extent is the regulatory agencies in Canada, Health Canada primary amongst them, able to police their policies, to enforce their policies. I mean, if these guys can go 6 months growing mass tons of cannabis in 5 rooms, and it's like they only find out because an employee rats it out, one has to ask, well, exactly what is being regulated and by whom?
Right.
So does that to you suggest that there may be a sort of negative backwash on all of the LPs in Canada, as maybe now Health Canada will be under pressure to say, from people and investors saying, hey, if you guys are regulating, how can this happen? Like, go out and regulate. So now maybe there's going to be a crackdown on regulations, and they're going to go around and doubly inspect everything. Do you think that's going to happen?
I think that's possible. I think Health Canada is between a rock and a hard spot right now, because the rollout has been pretty bad, and they're sort of to blame partially in terms of their timelines. And there's pockets of undersupply in the market as well in terms of cannabis. And if they were to, let's say, suspend the license, that's a lot of cannabis that needs to get destroyed. At the end of the day, the black market wins from that. At the same time, Canadian regulators, as we know, aren't very well known for being harsh, let's say, generally. So I think they're going to have to strike some sort of middle ground in terms of maybe not suspending the license, but making it so painful that anyone else that even has the thought of doing this will just run right the other way. And just to comment on that, I think the fact that it's also international. So Stenocare, I think the Denmark partner of CanTrust, also halted, quarantined their shipments. I think that makes Canada look really bad on the international stage.
Sure.
And I'm sure that will definitely pressure Health Canada to be a little bit more strict than they would have been otherwise.
So do you think that Health Canada is in a position where they need to suspend CanTrust's license to preserve credibility, or do you think that they're going to consider perhaps that they can't really do too much more to CanTrust than fine them or temporarily suspend their license?
I think there's going to be some kind of middle ground. I don't think CanTrust is done as a producer. I mean, in terms of going back, we're never going to go back to what it was before CanTrust, but they still have hundreds of millions of dollars on their balance sheet for their latest financing that they did. They still have very valuable assets. And I don't just mean the cannabis, that could be destroyed, who knows, but I mean just the actual production assets that they have, which in my estimation is between $2 to $3 a share on a fully diluted basis, where it's pretty close to where it is today.
Yeah.
Obviously, with this raise being done in the US, though, there could be a lot more hair on this one, right? Because a lot of these investors that probably got burned on this 5.5 USD round were from the U.S.
Yeah.
And they could probably appeal to their regulators potentially.
Yeah. Do you think that there's a threat of litigation from U.S. regulators, or rather from U.S. investors who participated in that round?
I think there's a threat, absolutely.
Yeah.
There's definitely a threat.
Okay, so then everybody's sort of on pins and needles. You yourself bought some calls on the trust transaction.
So what happened was which day was this? I think on the Friday I bought some, and I exited. Part of or I think it was the Thursday actually. But anyway, I made some money on them with that balance that we had after. Exited, just waiting for some consolidation on the name. Obviously, what are the next sort of objectives right now? They have to get something to Health Canada this week, I believe tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken. And then Health Canada is going to have to, have a decision within probably a few weeks from there.
Wow.
So based on how that sort of develops, I think that will sort of dictate where things go. I mean, you could go from $1 to $2 to maybe $5 on a positive sort of resolution, and positive being anything short of a suspension.
Wow, and what about negative to the downside? What's possible?
Yeah, zero. It's a very strong support at zero.
Right, strong support at zero. Well, that's interesting. Now, let's switch to Canopy. So, a lot of people looking at Canopy and saying, well, I'm not going to own it anymore because I was betting on the jockey, Bruce Linton. And now they've turfed the jockey. Maybe there's an abdication of faith in the ability of Constellation Brands to sort of evolve management at Canopy, or do you think that there's more of a brighter future now that Bruce is gone and Constellation is taking more of a Fortune 500 approach to the company than, say, Bruce would as a more entrepreneurial individual?
Right. I think a lot of the things that Bruce was doing, so maybe some of the medically focused things may be sort of disregarded by Constellations going forward. I think they're going to focus on more of a CPG approach to product lines. So what that means is, the vaporizers that they bought, or maybe any kind of phase 1, 2, 3 trials that they're trying to do, that may sort of lose a little bit of focus within Canopy. I think what Bruce was trying to build was a global cannabis winner-take-all type land grab company, and that meant on every vertical, on every sort of sector, to be a dominant player. And I think the way Constellation's going to try and play this is, they're getting pressure from shareholders. The Canadian rollout didn't help in terms of sales and EPS and all that stuff. And so they want to sort of put a few bandages on it and stop the bleeding and get it to a point where it's performing the way I think they wanted it to perform earlier on. And I hear, Bruce isn't the only one that's going to get canned.
Ooh.
That's just what I hear. I think there's going to be a lot of cleanup on the upper management, not in a sort of derogatory way, right? These people are free to pursue other things as well in a very sort of honorable way, right? But I think they want to place their own leadership in there so they have good oversight.
So you think Canopy's, or rather Constellation, is interested in reorienting Canopy more towards the recreational industry and away from medical?
Yes.
Do you think that could result in unwinding of some of those acquisitions and taking a hit and blaming it all on the guy who's on the out and rebroadcasting to analysts on the institutional level that, okay, this is a company run by adults now with a very clear focus on our core competence, which is a demonstrated ability to market brands in the recreational adult beverage space, and that's do you think behind the?
I think it's possible. I don't want to throw that out there, but I think it's possible. I think I wouldn't be surprised if I saw a headline like this, but I also don't think Constellations is just gonna. They're sort of throwing their credibility out the window because they had board oversight for a while, right? After all these acquisitions, before all these acquisitions occurred, they had oversight to approve or not approve these transactions. So I think, I think they're probably fine.
Okay, now let's talk a bit about this Curaleaf acquisition of Grasslands. That's a big deal. Grasslands. $870,000. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
And where does the accretive sort of touch points on that transaction?
Yeah. So we were actually looking at it. Grassroots, it was private company, and they were doing actually a raise about 6 months ago or so. And our group of our team was taking a look at it. Actually, a friend and former, I guess, employer of mine, Stoic advisor Aaron Sauls, actually advised on this transaction, and I think was very active in it. And that's sort of how I heard about it. So in terms of, if I recall correctly, I think they were at 550 million USD, raising a certain amount of money. And I think this acquisition gives them a bit of a bump and provides them liquidity on probably one of the stronger MSO names in the U.S. So I think that's the thought process behind them. They have a lot of licenses. They have it's hard to really break down every single location, every single license in every single state and analyze that. But I think in general, you're seeing MSOs, and we're actually working on a transaction potentially now as well, something like this with a company that we're invested in, where they're just trying to scale up, get economies of scale in general, and and I think it makes sense from a business perspective, but I think there is some backlash from the states. So I think a lot of states, they want sort of bottom-up participation in a lot of these RFPs and license award processes, and they're not a fan of 6 different companies getting the license and then 3 of them being acquired by another company, which is then acquired by a multi-state operator. And wow, look, half of our licenses are now Curaleaf or whatever.
Sure.
So I think that could be sort of an issue. It's kind of ironic that we have antitrust in the U.S. as well with Amazon and Google and Facebook and discussions around there as well. So I think that's an interesting sort of theme that could.
Cool. Finally, where are your bets being placed in the cannabis space today?
Yeah, so I can say not just my bets, but in general with everything that we've been doing and I've been doing, it's very U.S.-centric. So let's just start there. A lot of the financings that we have participated in the last few months have been convertible debentures. Okay. So convertible debentures, as your viewers may know, for someone that's institutional level, it's something that you can get. That depends on the financing terms, obviously, but in essence, it provides a floor for your investment.
Right.
I think at the point of the cycle that we're in right now, in terms of the cannabis, story, I think it's very important to be protective. Yeah. Protective of capital, any new capital going into, companies that don't have revenues yet or are promising big revenues. I think you want to have a really good margin of safety. And I think you do want to avoid Canada largely. There's going to be a lot of execution going forward. And you know what? There's thousands of stocks out there outside of cannabis that are very exciting right now too, and aren't trading at very crazy valuations and have interesting growth potential. So I think you should look outside of the cannabis space. Look at what we've been talking about mining. Remember a few months ago we started talking about mining. Looks like that's getting back, starting to. It's sort of shaking off the fleas, I guess, as you can say, in terms of the Canadian space, at least Canadian capital markets, mining, cannabis, what else? Right. But yeah, just the U.S. I think the U.S. names are very cheap right now in general, and I think if you don't have at least a solid exposure to the U.S. MSOs, I think it's time to do that.
Okay. Well, Dmitry, that's great participation as usual. Nice and thoughtful comments as usual. Can't wait to have you back. Thanks for joining me today.
My pleasure, James.
Let's talk about Aurora. Recently, your financials, you've more or less delivered on.
Here are the headlines moving markets today.
If you're lucky to buy it 3 days ago at 37 cents,
I think it has a lot to do with some of these smaller names giving really...
Recreational cannabis is here. It's quite dry. So I'm going to eliminate the stocky bits. If you like the show, you'll love our website. Visit us at www.midasletter.com for interviews with key CEOs, cannabis news, and to subscribe to our newsletter. Tomorrow. Hey, we're back, everybody. Thanks for coming back. So, Ed, you
got everything going here.
You got everything sorted out on your machine?
Have you been looking at this thing called Bitfarms?
Bitfarms. Tell me about it.
It got listed yesterday at 80 cents, or the day before, one or the other.
Yes.
Hit 390.
$3.90. Yeah, Bitfarms.
BITF is the ticker. Scott pointed it out to me yesterday on his.
Really?
BITF.
Did he say buy it?
No, he doesn't know anything about it.
So he was just asking about it. BITF, Bitfarms Limited. Let's see what we can find.
Now it's back to 366. Hit 390. Now it's back to 366.
Wow. $210 million market cap, 57 million shares out. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
Don't know anything about it. There's no news out about it. So let's just go and see.
Well, they're.
So it went from 80 cents to 368 in a day.
2 days.
2 days. That sounds awfully promotional.
Sounds to me like the bit world.
The bit world.
Bit world.
Bit world. The world of Bitcoin. Does it have a Bitcoin focus?
It's a mining. It's a blockchain miner.
Blockchain miner.
That's what it says on their website. But so little grist for
Bitfarms.io. Here it is. Computing power to reshape the world. A blockchain infrastructure company that operates one of the largest cryptocurrency mining operations in North America. 34 megawatts of capacity. Where's the operations? How is it that this is happening? Once again, this is another. This is basically representative of a reversal in the downturn in crypto stocks.
You know, we saw Bitcoin did move in the last couple months from about $3,000 or $4,000 up to $9,000. I mean, those are monster moves.
Okay, who's behind this company? Let's figure out whether it's...
Well, I see the board of directors. I just checked them online, but I can't. Anyway, we want to follow these new things that come out.
Okay, here we go. No, that's not it. Where the hell?
It's under company.
Company. Okay, let's go look there.
You go to their website?
I'm on their website. Leadership and board of directors. Here they come.
There you go.
Boy, oh boy. Wes Fulford. Don't know Wes. Wes manages corporate direction and strategy at Bitfarms. John Rinn, Chief Financial Officer. Don't know John. Emiliano Grodzki. We don't know Emiliano.
Well, sounds like a fellow Polski Gorky.
Sounds like it. Looks like we're going to have to get these guys in the house and ask them what's going on. Ryan Hornby's the general counsel.
I don't recognize any of these names.
I don't recognize anybody here. But Anthony Levesque.
Seems to be a more than a few Quebec people involved.
Yeah, a Quebec-focused crypto miner that comes out of nowhere. So there must be some big investors behind this, because something that goes from 80 cents to...
and they're buying it with impunity.
Impunity?
In other words, no concern for risk.
Ah, with impunity, with abandon. Buying it with abandon. Wow, big times.
With an abandoned mind. Maybe it's an abandoned mind.
Abandoned mind. Okay, let's take a look at some of our. Oops, we don't want to look at that one.
But I mean, we'd like to replicate that
win
growth.
Yes. All right, let's take a look at. We're looking at our indexes here again. This is on the quote media system. They're all green. Lightened up a little. The CSE is now only up 4%. Profit taking at the end of the day. Canopy's making a slow slog back to the $50 level. They're up $1.28 today, 2.75% on the day. CanTrust is up 13 cents on the day, Ed. Demonstrating a little bit of confidence in, or maybe just a bottom, maybe just disgust.
It seems that for whatever reason, they're saying this thing's got a value of somewhere between $3.25 and $4. Now, I would imagine that if there's some really sharp people, there are sharp people out there.
Where?
Out there.
Where?
Out there.
I don't see
you know
any.
that everything is out there.
How come you're so taller than me today? Like, what the hell's going on there? Like, what are you sitting on, a booster seat or something?
Yeah, a little booster seat. Woohoo!
Yeah.
That'll pick me up.
Where do you know? Do you know what the name of the island was where we were yesterday?
No.
You don't?
No, what was it?
Fisher Island.
Are you serious?
I'm serious.
Okay.
That's the name of the island. You know what a fisher is?
Yeah.
Well, you do.
Yeah, but it's not a fish.
It's not a fish.
It's not a fish.
It's not a mammal that's part fish.
It's a mammal.
It's a mammal.
I don't know if there is such a thing as a mammal that's part fish.
Well,
that might be one of those creatures, in the movie The Shape of Water.
Yeah.
That might have. There's your.
Are there any fish that are part mammals?
Yeah. Well, they're not fish. they're not fish. Mammals are. A whale is not a fish.
And a dolphin?
Not a fish.
Killer shark. Killer whale.
Not a fish.
Squid.
Mollusk. I think squid's
a mollusk?
I don't think
Squid doesn't have a shell. There is our little fisher friend.
That's a koala.
No, that's a fisher.
That's a fisher?
That's a fisher.
Looks like a fucking bear.
Aren't they cute little fuckers?
Look at the paws of that little pecker.
I know. See, I figure it's called a fisher because it likes to eat fish.
Well, they say that's not true.
Well, I guess that's not true then. Who's they, by the way?
Fisher. I think it call it a fisher.
Who's the what?
Is it spelled
Why would you call it a fisher if it doesn't?
U-R-E? Maybe you know how they have these fishers that let the steam out.
No, it's spelled like fisher, like fisherman.
Oh, I thought you said it was F-I-S-S-U-R-E.
No, it's F-I-S-H-E-R.
Well, it's a fisherman.
There's another one.
I've never.
Look how cute they are.
Oh, let's get some pets.
Let's get some fishers. Don't fall into the fisher.
You know what?
What?
I thought it was like the fisher and a volcano, and I thought these things probably passed a lot of gas, and they called it a fisher.
Oh, passed a lot of gas. What are you talking about?
That's what a fisher does.
Fisher passes a lot of gas. So you must be a fisher. What the hell's going on here?
Jesus.
Polsky, Gorky's fishers all over the place.
Hey.
You know, that's the animal. That's officially the animal of the day.
Fisher.
New habit. We're going to have the animal of the day.
Animal of the day, word of the day.
Word of the day. Stock of the day.
Stock of the day.
What's today's stock?
Oh, we have to.
Whoa! There's a nasty little fisher.
Hey, do you know these things can take care of porcupines?
Yeah, I heard that they can actually tangle with porcupines and kick their little asses.
Yeah.
Hey, do you know who our sponsor is? Over there.
Look at
there it is. Halo Labs is our sponsor. Visit them at halocanada.com, one of the top extractors in the world. They're going to release this thing called a Shatterizer and a tab.
Doodad.
This is the only way to dab, and if you've never dabbed, a little dab will do ya. Because all it takes is one dab, and you're done.
And then you end up with
Not
nice
done.
hair because you got Brill Cream.
Brill Cream! Nobody knows what Brill Cream is in this audience anymore.
Well, I
Dab
certainly
tabs!
don't need any.
So dab tabs, we're going to be demonstrating the dab tab live on this show with a fisher on this side and with my dogs on this side. It's going to be Animal Week.
Yeah.
That's still a couple
Yeah.
of weeks away because I'm going on the road next week,
Yeah.
leaving on Wednesday, and I won't be back till the following Friday. And the lovely and talented Nika Domi, who is the new co-host of Midas Letter, is going to be here with Edward. Turns out she's Polish as well, so we've got Polski Ogorki and Polska Ogurka are going to be hosting the show for a week. What could possibly go wrong?
Oh, whoa. Woe's me.
You know, this reminds me, the one thing we haven't done on this show yet today, Ed, is tuned into our audience and said hello to everybody. Oh, and I'm not checked in on the right check, couldn't checked in with the right check.
Also, we should point out Gold staged a very big reversal today.
Gold stage reversal. We already sort of
was
pointed that out.
You know, we already did talk about that. Yeah.
Well, you want to talk about it some more?
Yeah. No,
that's okay.
No.
You do? Well, I'll tell you what, let's go to our channel here, and I'm going to do that right now, and we're live. And look, there we are, watching you, watching us, watching you, watching us. So big hello to Carol Bowden. Shevet Keto Static Bafanifi is here, of course. New girl Flippy Gat 3, never seen you before, but she's got fish in her profile, so it must have been the Fisher conversation that's attracting her. And let's see. Whoa, Shivet Guvidem Sisivsam being next week, yes, Nika is going to be the star of the show along with Edward, and it's Polski Ogorka and Polski Ogorki. Let's see. Carl Bowden points out a good fact he's a fan of. Dmitry says Dmitry seems to provide insight and is not shilling for companies, which is great. What are you saying, Carl? You implying that we're shilling for companies? Well, that's how we get that little logo down there. Oops, it's over there. I'll get it right one day. There it is. I got to get good at that. Yeah, we're shilling for Halo Labs. Why? Because they financed us so we can do our show for another 3 months. Thank you very much. Obviously, quid pro quo, quid pro quo. We talk about them, we do the show. You get to watch. You get to put your comments in here.
Yeah.
Anyways, so don't be too heavy on our sponsors. We love our sponsors. We wouldn't be here without them.
Yeah,
with
look-
our sponsors or our audience.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well-
Anyways. So tomorrow, we're going to have Joe Mimran here talking about Chiron Life Sciences. Joe Mimran.
He's a new director of Chiron.
He's a new director.
Yeah.
He's a marketing and fashion legend in
Founded
Canada.
Club Monaco.
Sold it to Ralph Lauren. Founded.
Joe Fresh.
Participated in the launch of Alfred Sung.
I'm wearing
which is,
Joe Fresh today.
You're wearing Joe
Yep,
Fresh?
shoes are Joe Fresh.
Your shoes are Joe Fresh?
Yeah.
You got no shoelaces in there, though.
Well, that's his fashion.
Really?
That's his statement.
That's not like you've lost your shoelaces.
No, I said, where's the shoelaces? They said, obviously you're not very fashionable.
They wouldn't be fresh
And
if
I
they
was
had
at-
shoelaces?
And I was at Loblaws when I'm, hey, where's the shoelaces? They said, in aisle 6.
That's a good one, is it? You cracked yourself up there. Why aisle 6?
Well, that's where they sell the shoelaces.
That's where the Fishers
I
look,
was looking
too.
for shoelaces. Anyway.
Really? And you ended up buying shoes.
Fisher is a cute little cuddly thing.
Did they
isn't
put
it?
the shoes next to the shoelaces to sell them?
No. This
You
is
asked
in
for the shoelaces,
this
you
is
got
the
lost.
clothing store.
Joe Fresh. And they had shoelaces at Loblaws.
In the other part, the hardware store.
Really? Anyways, yeah, people, this is going to get wild here in the next couple of
I
weeks.
think we're going to see a good run in the marijuana sector. We've three nice green candles.
Yeah.
And it's come down a lot in the last 2 months. You know that.
Yeah. No kidding. Oh, there's somebody.
Well, we started a minute late. I guess we can go over a minute.
You think so? What do you want to talk about in the overtime segment of our show?
Let's talk about the.
Wow, that's a brain fart if I
was
ever
gonna say,
saw one.
let's talk about ping pong and our
Ping pong. You guys played ping pong last night.
Yeah.
I went to bed because I was drunk and high. I was smart. I said, you know what? Screw this noise. I'm the hell out of here. Anyways, see that little bell button up in the far right corner of your screen? Up there, the little right bell button. It's probably engraved for watching on YouTube. Touch that bell button and you'll get a notification whenever we start streaming. And we're going to start streaming from the weirdest places at the weirdest times of day and night. And it's not just going to be me and Ed. It's going to be a whole cast of characters who are crazy.
By the way, Halo's going across at 59 today.
Wow, Halo at 59, going up 6 cents.
There you go.
You know why? Because people are watching our interview, and we did a good job for Halo, and that's the trade-off, people. Show sponsorship,
Bring
stock
you
goes up.
good companies to monitor.
Yeah,
Watch them.
exactly. Anyway, so thank you for watching our show. We're glad to see you all here. We love you all, and we will be back tomorrow at 3 p.m. with more fun. Goodbye.